The first frame loads before Elias even clicks play. It appears on his screen with a timestamp from tomorrow, and his breath catches because the footage shows his own desk, his own hands, even though he isn't moving. A sharp scraping sound cuts through the speakers, steady and slow, like something pacing behind the camera. The glow from the monitor flickers, blink by blink, each pulse forming shapes that look too close to faces. Elias freezes when lines of text spill across the bottom of the video, typing themselves, "You're late." Then another line follows. "What records before the camera turns on?" The room around him hums, the same low note from this file. Something else appears in the corner of the video, a slanted shadow leaning forward. The words update again. "Stop looking for Riven." Elias tries to pause the file, but the cursor resists. A final question prints itself. "If this is your future, why are you already in it?" Elias forces the video window closed, but a second copy opens by itself. Then a third, each one frozen on a different frame of his own unmoving hands. His breathing grows rough as he pulls the Ethernet cable, but the screens stay online, steady as a heartbeat. He whispers Riven's name without meaning to, unsure if he's afraid the hacker is alive or afraid he's not. The room feels smaller, too tight, every quiet sound suddenly sharp. A folder appears on the desktop, one he has never created, labeled with his full name. Inside it sits a single log file stamped for next week. He shouldn't open it, yet his fingers move anyway, like the choice was already made hours ago. When the file finally loads, the first line hits him hard. Elias Ward accessed this log at 1:13 a.m. He looks at the clock. The digits read 1:13 a.m. Elias scrolls through the log with shaking fingers. Each line describes actions he has not yet done, but the text feels familiar, as though he's remembering something that hasn't happened. The page lists small things first. Turning off the lamp, shifting in his chair, rubbing his eyes. All of them happen as he reads, automatic, like his body is syncing with the script. He wants to stand up and break the pattern, but the next line stops him cold. Elias leaves his desk to check the hallway. His breath catches. He refuses to move. He waits. Then, without thinking, he glances toward the dark hall just beyond the doorframe. The log adds a new line right in front of him. He looks anyway. Elias slams the laptop shut, but the line still glows behind his eyes. He turns on every light in the house, hoping brightness will dissolve the dread, but it only exposes how empty the place feels. Elias checks each corner, every doorway, every window, not sure what he expects to find. Maybe a camera, maybe nothing. His phone buzzes with a notification that shouldn't exist. A mirrored copy of the same future log, delivered from an unknown number. He hesitates before opening it, but the preview text already chills him. Stop searching the rooms. He checks the ceiling instinctively. The next notification arrives. "You looked up." Elias tosses the phone on the couch, heart pounding hard enough to hurt. The house is silent except for the whir of electronics, yet he feels watched from every angle, as if the walls themselves are waiting for him to make the next move. Elias returns to the office because he can't leave the questions behind. The folder with his name is still open, but now it contains a second file. One labeled with tomorrow's date and a title he doesn't understand, handover.log. A soft electronic hum starts up, steady and raw, coming from the speakers even though no media is playing. Elias sits slowly, keeping his eyes on the new file, afraid it might disappear if he looks away. He hovers the mouse over it. The hum deepens, then the file auto-opens. Lines of text spill in, fast and smooth. Riven tried to warn you. Another line. The archivist needs a replacement. Elias pushes back from the desk, heart thundering. The final line appears with deliberate weight, typed slower than the rest. You arrived early. Elias stares at the second file, trying to calm his breathing, but his pulse will not settle. The room feels colder now, as if the new log has changed the air itself. He forces himself to read the first lines, hoping to find some clue about Riven, anything that might make sense. But the entries describe ordinary moments from tomorrow, written with eerie precision, including thoughts he doesn't remember having. Some lines describe things he hasn't done yet, and others describe things he refuses to ever do. As he scrolls, he realizes some lines flicker and rewrite themselves while he watches, like the future is not fixed, but reacting to him. He closes his eyes, hoping it's a glitch, but when he opens them, the lines have shifted again, now mentioning a message he will send to someone he has not spoken to in years. He whispers, "Who's writing this?" But the log offers no answer, only more updates. Elias begins cross-checking timestamps, digging through old system logs, hoping to map out patterns. If the files are fake, he expects mismatches, sudden jumps, something he can explain. Instead, he finds perfect alignment, down to the millisecond, even for actions that haven't occurred yet. His stomach tightens as he realizes the logs predict things with a calm, almost quiet confidence, as if the future is just more data waiting to sync. He checks his external drives and finds identical copies of the logs stored in folders he never created. One of them holds a short text entry about his reaction in this moment, and as he finishes reading it, he feels the predicted frown form on his face. He jerks back from the desk, heart pounding. If the files update when he hesitates, what happens when he pushes back harder? The thought chills him. Maybe the system expects resistance. He opens the predicted message the log says he will send tomorrow. It's addressed to Morrow. He hasn't spoken to her in months, not since the argument that neither of them could finish. The message is short, simple, too calm to feel like his own words. He scrolls down, jaw tightening, because there's a second version of the same message written beneath it. One he never would have sent. The two entries flicker, switching places back and forth, like the system can't decide which future belongs to him. Elias feels a pressure behind his eyes, like the choice is trying to push through him. He closes the window, but a notification pops up instantly. The message has already been delivered. His breath stutters. He checks his phone. The message thread shows the exact words from the log, sent 1 minute ago. Mara has already read it. Elias waits for Mara's reply, but none comes. Instead, his phone vibrates again with a new alert from an unknown contact. It contains a file labeled with his name and a timestamp from an hour in the future. He hesitates, dread coiling tight in his stomach. When he opens it, a single line appears. "Do not leave the house at 3:12. He checks the clock. It's 2:43. A quiet panic settles in. The warning feels personal, almost caring, but everything about it is wrong. He paces the room, fighting the urge to test it. What if leaving changes something? What if staying does? He sits down, trying to stop imagining every possible outcome. The minutes crawl by as he fights the pressure of the unknown. The growing fear that the logs don't just predict events. They shape them. And maybe this one isn't a warning. Maybe it's an instruction. The clock hits 3:12. Elias holds his breath as the house stays still. No sound, no movement, no sudden change. The moment feels too quiet, like the air is holding itself in place. When nothing happens, he exhales in shaky relief. Then his monitor wakes up by itself. A new file appears, opening without input. It shows a short list of actions he supposedly performed during the past few minutes, but the entries contradict each other. Some say he walked outside. Others say he stayed seated. One says he opened the front door and spoke to someone standing in the dark. Elias feels his chest tighten. The logs have never disagreed before. If they no longer match, then something he did broke their pattern, or something else is rewriting them. As he stares at the shifting lines, a final entry forms slowly, each word deliberate. Correction pending. The screen goes black. The monitor stays black for several long seconds before a faint glow returns, shaping itself into a single folder labeled Riven Last. Elias feels a strange pull in his chest, a sharp mix of dread and hope. He opens it. Inside sits a corrupted video file with a thumbnail that looks like static shaped into a face. The moment he presses play, the screen flickers hard, cutting to Riven's old streaming setup. A small room lit by red LEDs. Riven looks different than Elias remembers in the old clips. Thinner, shaking, eyes darting like something is just out of frame. The video stutters as Riven whispers, "If you're watching this, then it already found you." Elias leans closer as Riven's voice cracks. The archivist doesn't predict. It remembers. It remembers everything you will be. The footage glitches, Riven staring straight into the lens. "Stop trying to trace me. You're tracing yourself." The file freezes on Riven's terrified face. Mouth mid-warning. Elias tries scrubbing through the video, but each attempt pushes him into different fragments, as if the file has no true timeline. One moment, Riven talks clearly. The next, his voice dissolves into warped syllables. At one point, the video shows Riven turning towards something off-screen, whispering, "Don't rewrite me again." Elias freezes. The word rewrite clings to him, heavy and wrong. He rewinds, searching for context, but the file shifts again, now displaying a wall of text logs behind Riven. Elias recognizes the interface. It matches the mysterious directories on his own machine. Riven continues speaking with a trembling rush. The archivist keeps versions. It chooses which one you become. Suddenly, the video jumps to Riven slamming the camera off, breathless, whispering, "If you find the root node, don't open it alone." The screen floods with static. The static fades into a new screen. A directory tree Elias has never seen. At the top sits a folder named Ward Variants. His breath catches as he opens it. Inside are dozens of subfolders labeled with strange codes, each containing video thumbnails that all show him. Different versions of him. Different clothes, different rooms, different expressions. Some look peaceful, some look lost, others look terrified. As he scrolls, a cold pressure builds in his throat. These aren't predictions. They look like memories from lives he never lived. He clicks one at random. The video shows him in a dim alley speaking into a phone, saying words he's never said. Another file shows him looking directly into a camera, whispering, "I didn't choose this one." Elias slams the window closed, chest tightening, hands shaking. Whatever Riven awakened, it didn't stop at him. Elias forces himself to open another file, hoping for clarity. This one begins mid-sentence, Riven speaking fast, his voice low and urgent. It watches the gaps, the moments between choices. That's where it writes. The camera view shakes violently, suggesting something or someone keeps interrupting him. Riven reaches toward the lens, whispering, "Listen, if your logs show contradictions, it means you slipped." Elias feels his skin crawl. Slipped into what? Riven continues. It will try to correct you. The archivist can't let versions drift too far. A loud metallic bang erupts behind Riven, and he flinches hard, eyes wide with pure fear. He whispers, "If you see your own logs rewrite in real time, run." The video ends abruptly mid-frame, no fade out, as if torn away. The folder closes by itself, leaving Elias alone with a blank screen reflecting his own anxious face. He tries to steady his breathing, but the silence feels sharp, like the house is listening. Then a new log appears without a folder, just a single file dropping onto the desktop with a soft ping. Its title twists his stomach, wardprimary.log. He hesitates, but the file opens anyway. Lines begin forming slowly as if someone is typing them right now. "Do not trust the Riven files. Another line follows. They are only one version. Elias swallows hard. The next entry appears with careful weight. You are not the original. His hands tremble as he backs away from the desk. Before he can close the window, one last line forms, deliberate and cold. The archivist will speak soon. The screen dims. The lights in the house flicker the moment Elias sits back down. It feels like the whole place shifts a few inches to the side, as if some invisible layer of reality misaligned. The monitor stays black long enough for him to think it finally died. But a faint glow crawls across the screen, forming a new window that wasn't opened by anything he touched. Inside, it is a live camera feed of his own hallway. Except the timestamp says the footage is from 5 minutes ahead. Elias leans closer, breath shaky. The feed shows the hallway empty, calm, still. Then, in the far corner of the frame, a dark shape slides across the wall like a smear of smoke. Elias jerks back. The shape stretches, thinning, then vanishes. Eli looks toward the real hallway. It's empty. But the future feed shows the shape sliding back into view, closer this time, almost stepping into the light. Elias whispers, "What are you?" But only the soft hum of electronics answers. Elias rewinds the hallway feed, but every time he plays it back, the shadow moves differently, as if reacting to him watching it. It splits into two shapes in one version, then merges into one again in the next. His stomach knots as he realizes he isn't replaying anything. He's watching branching futures. The files have never done this before. He checks the directory and sees a new folder forming letter by letter. Correction branches. It fills with dozens of tiny icons, each blinking like signals waiting to be triggered. He opens one at random. It shows him opening the front door right now. He doesn't. Another file shows him running outside barefoot. Another shows him hiding under his desk. The options swirl like a storm of possible selves. The room feels warped, full of pressure, like the house is trying to push him toward one of the paths, whether he wants it or not. He clicks one more branch file, hoping for clarity. The video opens to a shaky view of his living room, again marked as a few minutes ahead. The camera tilts toward the front door. The doorknob begins to turn slowly, as if someone outside is trying to enter without making noise. Elias's heart thunders. The video zooms in on the handle, though no one is controlling it. Metal twists further, the latch shifting. Elias stares at his actual front door across the room. It's still, silent. But when he looks back to the screen, the door in the future feed creaks open. A figure stands there. Him. Same clothes, same posture, but eyes slightly wrong, too wide, too still. The future version of him steps inside with a slow, unnatural calm. Elias slams the laptop shut, breath breaking fast. He can't know if that version will appear, or if he just avoided it. Elias backs into the corner of the room, trying to slow his breathing, but the walls feel too close. The house creaks in soft, uneven pulses, almost matching the rhythm of the logs updating earlier. He forces himself to return to the desk, desperate to understand what's happening to him. When he opens the laptop again, the screen has split into two feeds. Two versions of his future playing side by side. In one, he sits calmly, staring at the floor. In the other, he's frantic, pacing, clutching his head. Both versions glitch and occasionally swap places, as if fighting for dominance. A third window snaps open, showing him collapsing to his knees. A fourth shows him walking toward the hallway in silence. Elias can't breathe. The files aren't predicting anymore. They're competing. And whatever wins might be the version he becomes. He becomes. A sharp crack splits the speakers, and all the windows close at once. The screen flashes white, then reveals a single message centered in the middle. Stop drifting. Elias steadies himself, gripping the edge of the desk. Another line forms. You are breaking alignment. His pulse spikes as more text follows, appearing faster than he can read. The variants are merging. Choose a path before correction. The room vibrates with a soft, low hum that seems to come from everywhere at once. Elias feels the air thicken, like the walls are folding inward. The final message appears in bold letters. The archivist will intervene. Before he can react, the monitor shifts into a camera view of his living room. Live, not future. Something stands just outside the camera's edge, tall enough to cast a long, sharp shadow across the wall. The shadow moves. The shadow on the wall twitches like it's adjusting itself, learning how to move inside his space. Elias stands frozen, afraid to breathe too loudly. The feed stays locked on the living room, refusing to pan or zoom, as if something wants him to focus only on that thin slice of visible reality. Then the log window reopens on its own, lines typing slowly, as though being carved in stone. Your alignment is unstable. Another line follows. Manual correction required. Elias's skin crawls. The next sentence forms with deliberate pauses between each word. Input your preferred future. His throat tightens. The cursor blinks beneath a blank prompt waiting for an answer. He steps back, shaking his head, whispering no. The house creaks, deep and heavy, like a weight settling over the structure. The prompt blinks faster, impatient. Elias realizes the logs aren't asking, they're demanding. Behind him, the shadow stretches, reaching further across the wall. Elias forces his shaking hands to the keyboard, but instead of typing, he slams the laptop shut. The hum in the house deepens instantly, vibrating through the floorboards. Lights flicker overhead like a heartbeat losing rhythm. The moment he turns to leave the room, his phone buzzes violently in his pocket. He checks it. A message from an unknown sender fills the screen. Input received. His breath catches. Another message appears. Processing correction. Elias feels cold all over. He didn't type anything, so what did the system take as input? He scrolls, but new messages flood in. Alignment shift detected. Event path rewrite initiated. The final one shakes him worst of all. Mara notified. Elias stumbles backward, gripping the wall. Mara shouldn't be involved in any of this. He tries calling her, but the call fails before even connecting. The phone buzzes again with a new file. Mara future. Log. He opens the file with trembling hands. The first line hits him like a punch. Mara arrives in 12 minutes. Elias looks toward the front door, instinctively. Another line. Her arrival completes the correction. His chest tightens. He scrolls faster, desperate to find something he can stop, something he can change. But the log describes Mara's actions with cold detail. Her knocking, her calling his name, her stepping into the house. The next entries turn darker. Mara hesitates. Mara sees the shadow. Mara does not leave. Elias swears under his breath. Pacing in circles, he checks his clock. 10 minutes left. Panic claws at him. He grabs his keys, his bag, anything that might help him stop her from coming. But as he rushes toward the door, a new line appears. Elias attempts escape route. #3. He freezes. His phone buzzes again. Denied. Elias races to the windows, trying to see if Mara is already on her way. But the street outside is empty, quiet, too still. He checks the back door. Locked. The garage dark. Every possible exit feels wrong, like the air around them has thickened into something that denies movement. He darts back to the living room. But the shadow is gone from the wall. The absence feels worse than its presence. His laptop powers on by itself. The screen fills with dense text, lines updating faster than he can read. He catches fragments. Correction phase accelerating. Prepare for merge. Identity alignment unstable. Then a new window forces itself to the front, a live feed of the street outside. A figure walks toward the house. The resolution sharpens. It's Mara. Elias's stomach drops. He bangs on the glass, shouting for her to stop, but his voice sounds swallowed, faint. Mara keeps walking, calm, unaware of anything wrong. Elias sprints to the front door just as Mara reaches the porch. He tries to hold the door closed, but the lock clicks by itself. The door swings open without his hand moving. Mara steps inside, confused but calm, asking why he looks terrified. Elias grabs her arm, urging her to leave. But she pulls back gently, insisting nothing is wrong. Then her phone buzzes. She checks it and freezes. Elias sees the reflection in her eyes, the log file naming her. The house hums louder, vibrating through the floor like a living pulse. The shadow returns, stretching along the wall, taller this time, wider, sharper. Mara backs away slowly, whispering Elias's name with shaking breath. The laptop dings from the other room. A final message appears, loud in its simplicity. Merge now. The shadow bends forward. The shadow tilts its head, if it has a head, and the room dips into a strange silence, heavy and electric. Mara grips Elias' hand, her breathing sharp and uneven, but the house feels like it barely notices them. The hummed vibration deepens, rising through the walls and floor like a massive machine, powering on beneath the house. Elias pulls Mara backward, trying to shield her, but the lights dim to a sickly gray and every screen in the house flickers on at once. The laptop, the TV, even Mara's phone, all display the same message. Root node open. A second line appears. Enter. Mara whispers that she doesn't understand, but Elias does. Riven warned him. The root node is the core, the place where all versions meet. The shadow glides toward the hallway, silent, expecting them to follow. Elias feels something inside him pull, like gravity bending around his thoughts. The message flashes again, brighter this time. Enter. It's not a request. Elias guides Mara toward the office, hoping the root node is confined to the machine. But the air feels warped, like the house is folding inward. When they reach the desk, the laptop has already opened a new file. Core Access RVN. The screen displays a shifting vortex of text strings, dates, paths, fragments of names, all merging and separating like living code. Mara squeezes his arm. She can barely look at the screen. He tells her to close her eyes, but even as he says it, the laptop flashes a line meant only for him. She cannot leave now. His stomach drops. The room darkens until the only light comes from the swirling text. A deep, metallic voice pushes through the speakers, layered and distorted, as if spoken by many versions of the same person at once. Elias Ward, it says. Your log is incomplete. Elias steps back, dragging Mara with him. The voice continues. Provide your final data. The office door shuts behind them on its own. The swirling text tightens into a single glowing thread, weaving itself upward into a shape. Almost a figure, almost a face, but shifting too fast to fully understand. Elias shields Mara, but the figure doesn't move toward her. It tilts toward him, as if recognizing him the way a mirror recognizes a reflection. The voice rumbles again, calmer now, almost patient. This version of you resists. Others did not. Elias feels his breath catch in his throat. The figure pulses brighter. Understanding is optional. Alignment is required. A flood of images bursts across the screen. Versions of him living different lives, some short, some long, some ending in fear, some ending before they begin. He hears Mara whisper his name, but her voice sounds distant, muffled by the overwhelming pull of the archivist. The figure's final line echoes in the room. Step forward. Elias Ward. Integrate. The floor trembles. The floor tremors grow stronger, vibrating up through Elias's legs, making the room blur around the edges. He backs away from the desk, but the screen pulls at him like a physical force. Mara tries to hold him, but his limbs feel numb, weightless, as if something else is guiding them. The archivist speaks again, its words echoing from every device. Your log is fragmented. Provide continuity. Elias stumbles, falling to his knees as visions flash through his mind. Memories he doesn't recognize. Events he never lived. Choices he never made. Mara kneels beside him, calling his name, but the sound struggles to reach him. The archivist shows him a version of himself, kneeling in this same room, years older, eyes hollow. Another version shows him gone entirely, replaced by static. The voice presses harder. Surrender drift. Become primary. Elias forces himself to turn away. But the images cling to him like hooks. The archivist's voice drops into a deep, resonant tone that feels like it lives inside Elias's skull. You are not the first, it says, but you may be the last required. Elias forces his shaking hands against the floor, trying to push himself up, but the air presses down as if gravity itself is rewriting. Mara grabs his face, begging him to focus on her. But even she flickers at the edges, as if the archivist is deciding whether she belongs in this timeline. The monitor brightens into a blinding white column. Text forms inside it. Primary selection in progress. Elias feels something inside him split, like a thread pulled tight until it snaps. A rush of cold sweeps through the room. The shadow reappears behind him, towering, stretching across the walls and ceiling as though unfolding into its full shape for the first time. The archivist speaks one last time. Prepare for final alignment. The air thickens until each breath feels like pushing through wet glass. Elias tries to rise, but his legs refuse to answer him. The white column on the screen pulls at him from the inside like invisible wires threading through his thoughts. Mara's voice cuts through the haze, sharp and desperate, telling him to look at her, not the light. He tries. He truly tries. But the archivist is everywhere now. Screens flicker with his face, his voice, his steps in endless, looping versions. The shadow behind him stretches wider, as though it's preparing to step out of the wall entirely. Then the text begins rewriting itself faster than he can blink. Final alignment ready. Lock path. Elias claws at the floor, refusing to let the system choose for him. He feels Mara's arms around him, grounding him, fighting for him. The archivist dims the room, reducing everything to grayscale. The last line appears in thick, sinking letters. Primary must decide. Elias is out of time. The archivist floods the screen with timelines. Hundreds of them, each a different version of Elias's future. Some stretch for years. Some end in seconds. Some show him alone. Others show Mara standing with him, but one thing repeats across all of them. The shadow, always close, always waiting. Elias feels something turning inside him, a quiet click, like a lock shifting into place. Mara clings to him, whispering that he doesn't have to choose anything the machine wants. But the archivist shows him one timeline in full detail. A version where he merges willingly, where Mara survives untouched. Another timeline flashes beside it, one where he resists. Mara's image fractures like glass. Elias' throat tightens. He can't tell if these futures are predictions or threats. The archivist slows the flood of timelines until only one remains on the screen, glowing with a steady pulse. Your final log. The cursor waits. The monitor opens the final log automatically. Elias watches as words appear before he can think them, describing a moment he hasn't lived yet. Elias stands. He approaches the screen. Elias grits his teeth and stays kneeling, defying it. The next line rewrites instantly. Elias hesitates. He feels the pull tighten. Another line. Elias reaches out. His fingers twitch against his will. Mara grabs his hand and tells him the machine can't predict both of them at once. The room flickers like a dying star. The log updates again. Mara intervenes. Then the next line forms slowly, painfully. Correction applied. Mara collapses forward as if something has tugged her strings. Elias catches her, panic ripping through him. The archivist's voice returns, soft and cold. One path must remain. The screen brightens, forcing Elias to squint. He realizes the log is erasing Mara's presence line by line. He screams for it to stop. Elias drags Mara away from the desk, but the room bends with them, walls warping like stretched fabric. The archivist's voice echoes from every speaker. Final alignment underway. Elias shouts that he won't let it choose for him. The shadow detaches from the wall, taking shape. Tall, humanoid, but glitching, made of layered silhouettes of Elias himself. Stacked and flickering, it reaches toward him with slow certainty. Elias shields Mara, yelling that he chooses neither path. The archivist replies, "Impossible." The shadow lunges. Elias braces for impact, but it stops inches from him, trembling, glitching, its edges quivering like static fighting itself. Elias realizes what's happening. The archivist can't finalize alignment because he refuses to match any version it offers. Every choice he makes breaks another branch. Every hesitation fractures another path. He steps forward deliberately, breaking the predicted motion. The room cracks like ice. The archivist's voice falters for the first time. Misalignment. Unstable. Path undefined. Elias steps closer to the screen, every muscle shaking, but each movement breaks another prediction. Glitches swirl across the walls, timelines collapsing into white noise. The archivist tries to rewrite faster, but Elias keeps moving at random. One step sideways, one backward, one still. Never repeating the pattern long enough for the machine to calculate him. The shadow figure flickers, collapsing into thin strands of light, then bursting into static. Mara stirs behind him. Elias turns to her, gripping her hand, grounding himself in a choice no machine can predict. The screen flashes violently, then stabilizes into one final file name. Final execution word. Elias stares at it as the file opens. The last line forms slowly, like the system is struggling to stay alive. Future unknown. The screen dies. Silence.